Hello everyone! I have been building a romantic cottage in The Sims during this month of February. I decorated each room individually on my shorts, so we're going to be putting it together in this video. I built this house for newlyweds who live on a farm, and they are planning to have a baby at some point, so I included a nursery. I went for a very cutesy style, and many of these things are old-fashioned, but I was thinking that this is a couple who lives in the present day, so there's also a few more modern details all over the house. I used pastels and floral details on each of the 6 rooms, and if you would like to watch them coming together, I'll have a playlist of those shorts linked down in the description. So let's just go ahead and start putting this build together. As you can see, most of these rooms aren't really big at all. I think this is the smallest kitchen out of all of the kitchens that I have made in this kind of room by room series that I have been doing for a few months now. And it's the first kitchen in which I haven't included any cabinets you can take a seat at or a dining table. But I wanted this house to be smaller than some of the other houses that I have made in this way. But I did include a dining room in here. But anyway, when you first enter the house, there's going to be a corridor, and next to it you'll be able to access the living room and the dining room. And through the living room there's going to be access to the kitchen. I think that's a bit unusual maybe, but I wanted the kitchen to have a door that led into the backyard, and this house is actually going to have a very large, very useful backyard, and upstairs there's just going to be the primary bedroom and the nursery, as well as the only bathroom for this house. I normally include 2 bathrooms, but since this was a small family, I really didn't want the house to be huge. I felt that just 1 bathroom would be enough. There's several cottages in this world that are much smaller, but when you are building with this kind of building process, these kind of things happen. Like, it's very hard to guess the final size that these builds are going to have, but I always have a lot of fun with them because I really take my time with each of these rooms and I build them over the course of a few days. And yeah, I just really like making this series on my channel. I'm very glad that I started doing that, and I always try to make them somewhat related to the month that they are coming out on. So I was obviously inspired by Valentine's Day in here. For example, I have some cards in the dining room that have some hearts in them, and I think they are meant to be like wedding cards, and I was thinking that they are the cards for the wedding of this Sims that was probably not very long ago. I think they might have only been married for about a year, so they're still trying to figure out how they want their house to be like, how they want it to work for them, and the business side of the farm. But they have now fully furnished that nursery because they are thinking of having that baby soonish. Anyway, for the outside of the house, I wanted to use all of this stuff from Cottage Living, the windows, the wallpapers, that beautiful awning, and of course the roof texture and the roof trim. I don't think I have used that before. I've had Cottage Living for, I think, just under 2 months, and I still hadn't taken the time to build a full cottage. I have used a lot of the furniture from that pack because it is very beautiful and very useful for certain builds. But yeah, I hadn't yet built like a proper cottage, so I really wanted to have this be my sort of Valentine's build. Well, actually I have a few Valentine's Day builds here in the channel, and one of them is very silly. It's a heart-shaped vacation rental, also thinking about couples, maybe recently married couples. But anyway, here in the house I have added a few more windows, just another of those stained glass windows, which is a bee, and since I had added that, I made sure to add those beekeeping boxes, I think they're called, from Seasons, so that the Sims can collect and sell their own honey. And one of the strange things that I made in here was that I was struggling with the roof in the back, and so what I did was that I made a fake chimney using more chimneys. It's very weird looking, I think, or at least I think the process of it was looking very strange, but in the end I think that the result makes sense, and I added one of those like real chimney things so that there's going to be actual smoke coming out of it And I also made a fake dormer using a roof, and I added that semi-circular window from Cats and Dogs. And I also made sure to change one of the windows here in the back in this hallway area, which was turned into kind of an art studio thing. It's not a real room because it's next to the bathroom and it's really sort of a hallway, but I tried to add columns and a spandrel and it wasn't working because of how the rooms are laid out. So the columns weren't really matching each other. So I just ended up adding an archway to separate it, which I wish was the taller archway because it's shorter than the door that I have been using all throughout this house, but I don't really mind it that much. And here in the entryway I just added a coat rack as well as some more spaces to put some clothes and shoes on, and I also added that fire alarm here beneath the stairs and it's just hidden by a wall. And I also added one of those side tables from Cottage Living, which is halfway inside of the wall, which maybe looks a bit strange from the side, but I think that from the front it makes sense. And I just added a mirror on top of that, as well as some tissues and stuff like that, which would be practical to have in an actual home. And I was feeling that this room was a bit dark, so I added some string lights from the little campers kit, I think that's called. And that's mostly it for that entryway. I just added some more rugs, and I will change out one of those for another rug because there was a rug that I wanted to include in this house when I was planning the rooms and stuff, but I had forgotten about it and I hadn't been able to include it in any of the other rooms, so I do go back and add a few rugs later. But that's most of the interior done, and now we have moved this house over to a different lot. I forget which one this is, but it's a 30 by 20 lot. I think it's 5 Cobblebottom Street, I think that's what it's called. And it's in the downtown area where there's the fair and there's a few of these houses around. So it's more of a town than just open countryside, which I felt was really beautiful. And also I did include that, the stand from Home Chef Hustle outside of the house, so that these Sims can sell maybe the honey or some of the eggs from the chicken coop. Or I was also thinking that one of these Sims is really into knitting, cross-stitching, and also maybe baking. And I was also thinking that's the Sim that uses the easel, and the other is more interested in gardening and taking care of the animals in this little farm. But I was thinking that maybe they also sell those cross-stitching hoops or other things that this Sim might craft, or maybe some pies or cheese, since I was thinking that the creative Sim is also into cooking. But I really think that this would be a very nice house to play in, with all of the activities that are available, and also the nursery is big enough for the child to grow into. It definitely has enough space to fit a single bed later on, so yeah, I was thinking that eventually the child is going to be able to help feed the chickens or help one of the moms cook. So I thought that was pretty cute. And I haven't talked about how I have been laying out these backyards. So there's this more social backyard that's accessible from both the street and from the kitchen, and it mostly has a grill and some space to sit at and eat, and there's also a swing set. I eventually also add I think it's called a fire pit, the one where you can roast marshmallows at, I think. I still haven't used that object, but that's what I was thinking for that area. And then next to it there's this fenced off garden in which there's that tree stump with the rabbits and the other tree where there's some birds at. And since the rabbits can help you with gardening, I felt that that's what made the most sense, and I also wanted them to be separate from the chickens and the llama that I add in here. You can also have a cow in there, but I was thinking about a llama since one of these Sims likes to knit, and also cross-stitching uses the wool from the llamas, so That's what I was thinking lived there. I also added flower arranging table, so that's another thing that your Sims could sell at that. I don't want to call it a food stand, but it's a craft stand. I don't know. You can sell whatever there, so lots of craftables there as well as food. But I also made sure to add some of those small appliances so that there's also the option to just sell food. But anyway, now I am doing a bit of landscaping in here, and I am using lots of stuff from the romantic garden stuff pack. I even used those flowers that I don't really like. I don't really love the texture of those flowers, but I think that the other flowers are really nice, and I'm really glad that that stuff pack was free for a while, because I don't think it's one that I would have bought with my own money, or at least I wasn't planning on buying it soon or anything. But now we're also adding some more landscaping here in the front, and I don't know if it was when I changed this lot to the other one, this house to the other lot, but some of the landscaping that I had made there that I already had worked on got eliminated, and when I was adding it again I thought that maybe I hadn't liked the way that it had looked. But yeah, I just re-added that, and after that we are going to be adding those rocks that I had mentioned. There's one from vampires, which I actually do have a version of that rock in the bathroom upstairs. It's just the same rock but in pastels. And the other one is from werewolves, and that's the one that I had really wanted to add in here but I had forgotten about. And now we're just going to be adding a shelf in that space between the door and the archway, because I felt that it was kind of blank in there. I am a maximalist. I want to have stuff everywhere, so yeah. Maybe it didn't need anything in that space, but I felt that it did. So I added that in that space, and now we're just rearranging a few things here in this gardening area. I wanted to add some more like storage or gardening articles, or gardening clutter. So I added that one from Eco Lifestyle, and I felt that it was a bit too tall to be in this space next to this fence. So what I did was that I switched it out for the flower arranging table, and then I just added that fire pit I had mentioned, and some more seating from werewolves, which looks like a fallen tree with some mushrooms and some moss. And then I added those like hay bales next to the scarecrow, because it does have some hay bales, and I just thought that it's nice to have some more seating options. I originally had this scarecrow in the garden, which would have made sense because the scarecrow can help you with gardening, but I had it next to the birds, so I thought that it might be a bit rude to have it next to the birds. In Spanish we call scarecrows like scarebirds, so it's not particular to any bird, so I just felt that it was a bit weird to have that in there. But now we're just going to be working on some of that terrain paint, which I struggled a bit with, and I ended up just not having terrain paint in the gardening area. And this is actually a floor tile which has these stones with like little flowers growing in between them, and that's from Cottage Living, and there's a version of that texture that is actual terrain paint, but I didn't really like that, so I just chose to have the tile. And yeah, I'm not super happy with how a lot of the terrain paint looks in here, but I think that it works. So yeah, I should really get better at landscaping than I am, or at least I have seen so many people do such beautiful landscaping in their builds, and yeah, I don't think that I am at their level, but I think that I do interiors well, so that's something. But now just finishing the landscaping, or I think this is going to be some of the last things for the landscaping. I just added those like stepping stones in the garden, and then some more plants next to that other entrance to the backyards, and I also added some wisteria, which I sized down, but even then it was clipping into the house. It actually goes through that window in the kitchen, but I just added a small kitchen curtain inside, so you can't really tell from the inside. But anyway, we're just adding some more signage in here, and there's actually too much signage in here, I feel. But I felt that it just added to like the cute feel of this house, and I also added that like hen with some, I don't know what it's called, an egg basket. It looks like a hen, so I thought that it made the stand look like it was fuller than it is, because it's empty at the moment, of course. But now I'm just adding some more of those decorations from debug and some lights outside, and I made sure that there was some more grass in the area where the animals are at, as well as some more mushrooms and stuff. And I think that's going to be mostly it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to download this, it's going to be on the gallery under my ID, which is Veranil. And I will also make sure to have that link down in the description, because I know that it might be easier to download, especially if you watch this at some later point in time. So yeah, thank you again so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you left a like, because that would help my channel grow. And yeah, so that's it, and I hope to see you next time.